Okay, well, it says that we're live. I'll pull the mic closer. And, you know what? Ooh, what happened? Okay. Welcome, anyone listening out there to K.I.S.S Recovery 101. I have a wonderful guest here with me today, Sarah. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, my name is Sarah, and Bridge actually is my sponsor and helped me get into recovery and has been there for me for every step of the way, and I'm so grateful. So I'm really blessed and really excited to have this opportunity to be here tonight. So thank you, Bridge.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I just got to say, I almost didn't make it here myself tonight. That was fun. um, and you know what, though? It goes to show that if you want something really bad, you do it. And for me, keeping promises and keeping true to my commitments is so important. And being here on time, in the nick of time, I'm here, is I don't know. It's something that I can be proud of every day, anyway. And okay. So a couple of corrections. If you listened to the last show, uh, I needed to first. I should introduce myself. Hi, Bridge Recovery. I wanted to apologize to poor Jason. I didn't introduce myself, and I think by the third time he had not said my name correctly, I yelled at him. So sorry, Jason. But it is Bridge. And if this is your first time listening, KISS is a wonderful acronym. It's for Keep It Simple, Stupid. like, stupid sounds kind of harsh, but for me, I liked it because I know the Keep It Simple. And in my 19 years of recovery, at least that first decade, I'd hear the keep it simple. I'm like, why do they keep saying that? This shit is not simple, and it would tick me off. But that was me, and that was my own thing. And so when someone said KISS, I'm like, what's KISS? They're like, it's keep it simple, stupid. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was me because I couldn't keep it simple. And it dumbed it down in the sense of because I couldn't keep it simple, I felt stupid. I was making it so complicated. But anyways, let's start the show. The only correction that I really wanted to make sure, if you caught the last show, we talked about Wally P, who wrote Back to Basics. And it's just a small thing, but I'm kind of particular about details. So when Jason and I were talking, Jason had mentioned that he was an AA archivist, but he said for Dr. Bob, for Bob, for Bill, but it's actually he's an archivist for Dr. Bob, and it's kind of cool because I forget. Like, I've had phone conversations with him, and he actually told me some of the cool stuff that he has privy to that they keep on lock and safe, but they actually have like Dr. Bob's actual medicine bag that he would carry around. So if I ever get out to his neighborhood and visit him and Britt, his wife, I'm gonna be in heaven because I like to check out. I love history and all that. But anyway, let's move forward. So I did set alarms to try to be more mindful of time. But really, I like to just start. So the path of recovery that we're going to just talk about tonight was one of, like, in the last show I mentioned that I kind of needed many paths when I started. It wasn't just one book and one path that worked for me. There was too much going on that stemmed from my childhood. It stemmed from my past marriage. So when I came in the rooms, fully started going to meetings at 8 years ago, I had a lot coming in with me. So one path didn't work. So what I found that did help was the path of focusing on my mental health. And like recovery, mental health also has a big stigma.
100%.
You know? And so I found that just even like that's what's so frustrating. I think that's why I struggled for so long, was because there was a stigma not only on my addiction and alcoholism, but a stigma on mental health. Like,
Yeah.
to seek help. If I saw a therapist, something's wrong with me. Ooh, something's, she crazy. Like something, it's just like, so for years, it was like I had to keep these secrets about trying to get better. And like, it's a little bit better now, but like I envision us to be in a world where if you seek recovery, or if you seek, therapy or DBT or any kind of, to get your health for your mental state, like it's something to be proud of. And it's something that people look at you and are like, yeah, good for you. Instead of like, oh, I'm just going to, walk over here, look at you differently kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's the thing that's frustrating is the reason I like to introduce myself as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't necessarily, I will, depending on the room, reading the room, kind of thing, I'll introduce myself Sarah Alcoholic. But most of the time I prefer to just, introduce myself as Sarah in recovery, because it's not just alcohol addiction that I was in recovery from. It's the fact that I have very severe depression, and it has put me in very dark places. It's caused me to suffer from with a lot of anxiety. And even though I knew the idea of what anxiety was, I didn't realize where it was causing me to fall short in living my life, because I didn't want to go do stuff. I wanted to hide. It's so funny, because people who know me, they're like, you're like the most social person ever on the planet. What do you mean?
Yes.
But yeah, it just caused me so much literal physical pain, because I'd be so freaking out in my head and not knowing how to deal with it. And going down this road of mental health recovery has really helped me get out of my own head and open up about it, as well as be able to help others along the way too, that don't realize that this is something that, hey, ding, 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 I correlate with all of these little things, and maybe that's the path that I need to go down or get some help on. And it's amazing how much it can turn your life around.
Absolutely. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we put a positive light on it, like you just said, people will say to you, like, you're just so outgoing and happy. And, I can't imagine you being that, because, people picture, all these judgments of people with mental health issues of whatever. I've had that said to me multiple times too, like, oh, I didn't know that, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's where you and I connected right away, because we're both similar in like personality and the outgoing and the bubbliness. So the more we talk about it and we show them what the real face of not only, mental health, but recovery looks like, right there, that breaks that stigma and judgments that a lot of people that I get, or hear about right away. I mean, like a lot of times people will be talking to me and I start talking about my recovery, I watch their face kind of go into this la la land zone. Like, wait, huh? What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, that's me right here. So,
well, and I feel like the one thing that I've encountered the most out of all of this is the fact that all of the help that I've been seeking and getting myself better, despite the people that are in my life, and I feel like maybe this is a great segue into our topic tonight also, is the fact that people in my life that really have no idea what the hell mental health is about, other than loving to make diagnoses for them, for their loved ones, not knowing anything nor having a PhD or anything.
Something they've seen in a movie or on a TV show.
Yup. And so they have it in their head, like, oh, this person is this, and they need to do X, Y, and Z, which as a person who has gone through this personally, I had to cut ties with some of my family members over it, because there was diagnoses being thrown out that were not accurate. they weren't supporting me for trying to get help in the areas where I did need to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward and knowing where I'm at and what I need to do now, I mean, I'm in a way better place. I feel good when I wake up in the morning. I look forward to what I have going on, who's around me. I live in a sober house with a bunch of women, and like anybody.
You have a good support
Yes.
system and good supportive people around you.
Yes, with healthy relationships, not this sick, suffocating way that people can treat you and not even realize that how damaging it is.
Mm-hmm. And so many times I've heard this, and this was me. You know, I could go to parties or social things, and there's all these people around, and I still felt alone. You know, like I still just I still can't explain it, but it's because, you know, a lot of it was what was going on with me, but I just didn't feel accepted. You know,
Not at all.
So, but let's jump into, okay, so we're definitely going to talk about codependency. So yeah, so we'll go into, so I want to highlight DBT. And what that is dialectical behavior therapy. That is a pathway that, oh my gosh, changed my life. So I went through the DBT Associates. So if you just go online, you can find them at dbtassociates.com. That's where I went. It's a 14-month treatment program for mental health. And all it really was meeting once a week with my therapist. What was really cool about how they did it was my therapist was like basically on call 24/7, which sounds extreme. And I rarely ever called her, but it was nice to know that I could. That was nice. This person I would meet with at least once a week, and got to know over. Well, I ended up staying there for 18 months because my hard-headed ass didn't want to go along with the program in the beginning. And then the second day that I would meet is in a group, which I thought was fantastic, because again, it was with people that were similar to me. You know, they had their own journeys to get there, but we all could connect because we were all in the same boat. And you know, I know there's CBT, but that's cognitive. I needed DBT because I'm just a moving person, and I needed more than just mindset, like mindfulness. I needed, like, I would physically, like you were just talking about panic attacks, and I would get so worked up over many things in the past, that emotional. And so what DBT helped me learn is skills that I still use today, skills that help me to control, as much as it can be controlled, my thoughts, emotions, and actions. And I love science. I love the science of things. Like, you know, the spiritual part is key, having spirituality, but I like facts. I like evidence. I want to know why my brain's so effed up. Like, I want to know why I have these reactions versus every Tom, Dick, and Jerry. You know, like I want to, you know, I needed to see, and they actually show like the brain, like they would show me what would go on in my brain. I needed that. So
yeah.
But I just wanted to read a quick little thing of what DBT is, and then we'll jump into codependency. Does that sound good? Okay. So it says DBT is a modified type of cognitive behavioral therapy, so not CBT. But its main goals are to teach people how to live in the moment, develop healthy ways to cope with stress, regulate their emotions, and improve their relationship with others. And I don't need to read this whole thing, but that really like sums it up. I mean, I think they just opened my mind to an awareness of so many things that I didn't even realize were, now I see them, they were triggers. You know, they were things. Okay, so at the end of the day, when I finally was able to look at my own chart and file, I had been diagnosed with things that I never even thought. Well, first of all, I had seen therapists before, but again, that trust thing was never there. So I was never fully honest. I didn't really go into what really had gone on with me. And so once I found this therapist that I connected with,
so important too. And when you go into therapy, that's something that I've recently learned, is the fact that you need to be able to go in there knowing, whoever you see might not be a right fit. And if you're not feeling it, get out. And they're not going to be offended.
right.
You can just tell them, hey, I don't think this is working between us. And they probably feel it too.
Yeah.
And they are more than, you're not going to hurt their feelings. That is a 100.
Oh, that's so key.
Yeah.
Change your therapist if you don't like therapists. Like, time is so important, and don't waste your time doing, trying to work on yourself with someone you don't trust. That's kind of important.
Yes.
So yeah, I found, her name is Katie. And when I finally started letting some of those bricks from my wall down, and we really got into my childhood, I'm diagnosed with PTSD. And when I read that, I'm like, wait, I thought that's for people like in the army that go to war, like, why is that? She's like, Bridge, your childhood was kind of a war zone, and the battles, and what you survived. That is PTSD. And that was like crazy. I remember walking out of the office and just being, I don't know, I felt relief, because it felt like, there's so much, like, I haven't had a night terror in a long time, but I used to have horrible night terrors. Things that wouldn't trigger a person that does not have PTSD triggers me, just loud voices. Like, that doesn't bother me so much anymore. But in the beginning, loud voices, arguments, or, the silliest things. I remember being at Walmart, of all places. I'm at Walmart and just watching how a manager mistreated an employee set me off. I had to talk to my therapist about this, because I knew driving home, and it was still bothering me to the extreme that it wouldn't bother someone else. So I literally was shaking, adrenaline, fight or flight mode. I want to fight this person. Luckily I was in the program at the time in DBT, but I walked up to the manager. I'm like, who's your manager? Because the way you're talking to this employee is not okay. I just watched you degrade this person, just talk down to them, basically calling them stupid. I took it personally. And I just watched this person just shrink into a little ball. They looked like they were going to cry. They were embarrassed. And this is an adult, a young adult.
Yeah.
I was able to process it, through my therapist. And what we figured out was that was a child that I was that child. That manager was my dad, my adopted dad. And that was a daily thing, like, to be belittled and be mistreated, and nobody ever stuck up for me. Like, I had to live in lies, and a lot of people might not have known what was going on. I know people did, because he would openly be abusive to us, but nobody, back in the 80s, yes, I'm going to date myself. I felt like I would have cries for help, but nobody would help me. They allowed that, and it was more allowed back then. But so anyway, sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but in that situation, I saw this person that needed help, and everybody watched this whole thing go down. And I took it upon myself to stand up for this person. And I don't know what happened after that. I hope that his manager did have a talk with the manager. And, oh man, we're already getting an alarm. Okay, well, that's all right. That's good. That'll make me wrap it up. But the point of it was good that happened. And it was good that I could call Katie, tell her what happened, because it still bothered me an hour later. Like, I was so fired up about it. And that's what it turned out to be, was something from my childhood. And recognizing that, so when those things pop up again, I can start processing them with the skills that I've learned in DBT.
Yes.
And so I would like to stop talking, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Would you like to talk a little bit about your experiences with DBT? You're in that program right now, correct?
Yeah, actually, I just started this program. So
okay.
I've been in treatment this year for the first time, and it's been a whirlwind. I've been inpatient and now outpatient, and that will be coming to an end soon. But I realized the one thing that I think helps me the most is the fact that I started seeing a therapist, and we started working on DBT skills individually, just between him and I, until I can get into what will be the year-long program for, meeting with a group weekly, continuing to see my therapist and working on those skills. And it's nice because I have somebody that I feel comfortable opening up about what's going on. When I'm feeling shitty, instead of bottling it up or going and drinking it all away, I'm faced with it and I have to deal with it head on. So these skills, I get to openly talk about what's going on in my life, and he can relate. He's like, maybe we can approach it with this. Or, he's like, just last week, he's like, we've got 4 options here. He's like rambling them off. And he's like, what one do you think would be, fitting for this situation? I'm like, let's go with this. So then he explained to me what the skill was, how to apply it, which is the most important for me. Don't tell me some shit because I can read anything.
Right.
Teach me how to use it.
Right.
How to make me a better person.
Yes.
So, and that's what I really like, because it's made a difference in how I approach things, how I handle situations. And I'm honestly looking really forward to this year program coming up.
And I highly recommend it. I mean, that's why I'm talking about it. Like, it changed my life. Just simple things like being mindful. To start in the beginning, I remember just being mindful of what you're eating. We would do every week.
The simple things, yes.
Yeah, we would have these being mindful and being present in the current moment, because that was something I constantly struggled with, thinking about the past, thinking about the horrible things that I did in my addiction. And, it was hard for me to move forward with that because I wanted to continually punish myself. I felt bad about it and I felt like I deserved to be punished. And so, what was great is it helped me to get in the present moment. And then again, on the other side, not worry about the future. Like, all we have is today. Like, all we have is this moment. And, they can be ripped away so quickly. So it's ever, I'm far from perfect. I will always still worry about things. I'm a mom. But especially with the moments that I make a point to be present, and the skills, I have ADHD, so my mind likes to go all over the place. And the skills taught me basic things like, okay, feel the grass that you're sitting on, right? Breathe the air that it helps me focus back into being in the present moment where I want to be and make this quality time with the people that I care about.
And it's so nice that you brought up the fact that how much you love this program, and you are not the only person that I know who has gone through this program. I've met many women along the way that have done this program as well, and men, and every person that I know that has gone through it absolutely loved it, still uses it in their life today.
I still have my binder.
It is really, it breaks my heart a little bit that I had to go through 30 years of not knowing how to handle shit until just recently, now being taught these skills that I should have been taught back in fucking elementary school.
Yes.
What the hell? Like,
yes. Yes. And they do have, where I went, they have DBT for teenagers, for youth. But I love that you said that, because I really believe it should be taught.
It should.
They're just great skills for anyone to have.
Yeah, you don't have to have, suffer from depression or anxiety. It is just a good common knowledge to have as a person, as a human being on this freaking planet.
Everyone has stress.
Yes. It should be a mandatory school taught program, and it doesn't have to be like a workshop that, we're having DBT today. Like,
no,
teachers should be educated in this field.
Yes, I love that.
They should know how to apply it and add it into their teachings throughout, all of that shit kids can pick up because they're sponges at that age.
Oh, absolutely.
Only to make them better adults when they get older.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I do want to encourage anyone listening on YouTube or Facebook. This is live right now. So anything that we're talking about, anything that comes to mind, questions, comments, please do post them, because I'm going to be watching for those, because we would like you to interact. So at this point, I do want to codependency. Ooh, Sarah, this is a juicy one.
It is.
Just for myself, I've always been independent, because I'm thankful for my childhood, in the sense of I've always just handled shit myself. I knew I couldn't depend on anybody but my damn self. And although things changed when I got married very young, and I had a baby very young. I wanted to have a family. So at 22 years old, married at 21, first baby at 22, I threw myself into that. I accidentally kind of became codependent in having a family that I never had before. Having a person, that I was married 10 years, someone to rely on, someone that I felt like had my back, someone that if the shit hits the fan is going to be there, So I didn't even know codependency was a thing. And we were young, we literally just, we grew into different people. I mean, my alcoholism and addictions didn't help. But at this, that was, so my divorce was finalized in 2015. I can actually say, and I never thought it would be possible, but thanks to DBT and sobriety, we have a great co-parenting relationship. And that is important. And like I said, I use those DBT skills a lot, especially just interacting with people that, kind of hit that red button for me. Now I know, instead of reacting, I respond. I know how to process things. I know how to gracefully walk away from a conversation where DBT, if you do look it up, they talk a lot about what your prefrontal cortex is of your brain. You kind of need that just for processing basic information. And when your emotional mind takes over, which can be triggered by a lot of things, prefrontal cortex does not work. So you might do some crazy ass shit that you didn't mean to do, but that's because your emotion mind took over. So here, sitting today, I mean, it was a long divorce. It was 3 years. And I never thought it'd be possible that I could ever even talk to this person unless I had to the point where today my car was having issues and he's almost like a friend, because I know he knows a lot of car shit. I could call him and just say, hey, what's up? In the midst of my divorce, I almost did not want good things for this person. I think it was very mutual, but so that's where, I think recovery, Holly said this when we went on the Attitude for Gratitude podcast. She said recovery for her is change. And I love that she said that.
Yeah.
It's like, I just love the word change. So many people fear change. And I think for me, I jump into it because that's how I grow. That's how I've healed. I still need healing, but that's how I get to keep trying to up that level of life.
Literally nothing but change if you think about it, from the day you're born
Absolutely.
to the day you die. Mm-hmm. Just look at your body physically, how much it changes every single day, every minute, every second. Change. Mm-hmm. So your environment around you is doing the exact same thing. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for people. And human beings we're not wired. Oh, there goes another alarm, Sarah. Melanie's on. Oh, we need to okay. Let me turn this alarm on.
A definition on codependency.
Okay, yeah, let me give the official definition on what codependency is. So Merriam-Webster dictionary says it's a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another. And then there was a lower, lesser thing that said excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner. So Melanie Moberg Her book actually did change my life as well. And I recommend, I actually read it in like 4 hours. I seriously couldn't put it down. Like, it's called Warriors in Recovery. And Melanie's actually from Minnesota. Shout out, Melanie. But Sarah, I know you have the book with you here today.
I do,
And you wanted
yes.
to read from it a little bit.
Well, I think it's really important because her book not only gives a really great perspective of women who suffer from addictions, but also mental health. And she gives, a little bit of a guidance in facing certain topics such as codependency, as well as give, real stories of people that have been through it, what the shit that's happened. And to give that, experience, strength, and hope that we all look for that gets us through to the next day. In fact, she has 2 topics in her book that I absolutely love, and they definitely, I believe, feed like codependency, which is the one. It goes into the next one, which is self-love.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to love yourself in order to give love to anybody else. And it sounds so like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, I love myself. No, like you look in the mirror and honestly say, I don't need so-and-so to be by my side right this minute. I'm okay. You don't need to call somebody and be like trying to figure out an answer to a question because you can't rely on yourself. You need to be able to rely on yourself to get through.
Right. And where it looks like for me today is like I literally like to sit with myself alone. I enjoy myself alone. And before I couldn't do that. Like I would have extreme anxiety if I was literally by myself alone. No distractions. So yeah, like you said, self-love, it sounds maybe easy to sound, oh yeah, I love myself. But do you really, like in your soul, like can you sit alone with yourself and be okay with that? You know? So sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Some of the other things that I really love, and as a people pleaser, I definitely struggle with the fact that I have a hard time saying no to people.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Guilty. Yes, and I let people walk all over me all the time, and I even right now I want to say it's okay, like it's all right, it's not a big deal. But really, look now, if I'm looking at myself and trying to love myself, that's not okay. There's no self-respect. There is nothing okay about it. And I love this because it really gives me a different way of perspective and to help me with creating a boundary for myself with others that, somebody might be like, oh, can you help me with this? Or do you want to come over and do that? And all these questions that come at me. And I always want to say, yes, I got it. Don't worry. I'm there. And genuinely, yes, I love it. But there are some times where there's things that come up and I'm a little uncomfortable. Or I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do that, but I guess I could do it.
Why did I say yes?
Yes. And this for me is perfect. She writes in her book, Melanie writes in her book. She, I believe, is quoting Derek Sivers, who stated, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. That's what I need to remember. In the moment of something, if I'm not, yep, I'm there, then you know what? No. And it's okay to say no, and that's taken a long time to learn.
The Art of Saying No. There's actually a book. And I just like the title, just The Art of Saying No. So you don't have to feel guilty. Yeah, do you want to read further into it? Because I also have some things I wanted to highlight from her book.
Yeah, by all means. I think one thing that I wanted to make a comment on with regards to codependency too is sometimes when you're, how do I want to word this? Sorry. There's just, you get so wrapped up with the other person that you're not living for yourself to the point where, sorry, my brain is.
Well, let me read. I love that you said the word boundaries.
Yes.
Okay, so in her book, Warriors in Recovery, I'm just going to start reading from Boundaries. It's on page 133 if you have it. Well, first of all, the definition for boundaries is a line that marks the limits of an area, and it's a semiquote or semicolon, a dividing line. So what she writes in boundaries. At first, I thought creating boundaries was selfish. I had been helping others for so long that I literally couldn't imagine not cleaning up behind other people. Learning to say no was some of the hardest work I've ever done. Eventually, I asked myself what I really wanted. The truth is that so many of the things I wanted for myself wouldn't happen if I kept saying yes to what everyone else wanted from me. I needed to stop being trampled by the people I loved. I was allowing them to treat me a certain way, and I was reinforcing that behavior each and every time I agreed. If I wanted to be treated differently, I had to treat the people I loved that I would no longer agree to whatever they wanted. This is extremely hard. There is no easy route here. No pass, go and collect $200. That path does not exist. You must acknowledge that you might upset some people. They might yell and scream at you. They might insult you or call you names. They might be downright jerks. Whatever you do, don't back down. You are a damn warrior, and don't forget that. Ooh, that gives me goosebumps every time I read that. Walk away if you need to, but don't you back down. Commit to your no and don't accept anything less. You, my friend, deserve this. Treat yourself with respect. Honor what you said you would do. Don't break that promise to yourself. Commit to the no. Love that.
Yes.
Don't you love that? And that's only a few paragraphs of this book. But the thing that really, does anything stand out from that with you? I don't want to keep I don't want to like dominate this conversation, Sarah.
No,
I'm so sorry, but this like codependency in general, I didn't even talk about so where I sit at today, I did not realize I'm codependent on my children.
Yes. And that's the thing. Okay, so
What?
I wanted to point this out. Codependency doesn't mean say
it's not a boyfriend, girlfriend,
no,
husband, wife. Codependency has all kinds of relationship aspects to it.
Or a significant other, whatever it is. It doesn't mean like a sexual relationship type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a mom being codependent on their children.
Being wanted and needed.
Yep, constantly. 24/7.
Focusing on everyone else.
And same for, I know people that are workaholics because they are codependent on their boss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be literally any relationship that you have in your life that you are so fixated on that you are not putting yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just on a quick side note with the no thing. So I have 3 examples of myself and codependency. So ironically, in today, now that I'm aware, I didn't even know, because I've always just, for the most part, well, the kids were taken away from me at I think that's when it was glaring, my dependency on them. And even when they go away to their dads on the weekends, now that I'm aware of it and I have skills and I can process through it, I can work on myself and continue healing. But in the ends of one of my previous relationships, I had never been on the other side of it. I was in my marriage. I was definitely codependent in that. But when I started to really grasp this recovery thing and really start to find myself and love myself, and at the end of the day, when I got in this relationship, I thought that person was kind of, I thought we were on the same level. We met in the same group, but he wasn't. And I remember him half kidding saying, well, I've been told I'm codependent. I'm a codependent. I didn't know what it was at the time. I'm like, oh, haha, it's okay. I'll fix you. Yeah, that blew up big time, because we were together for over a year. But to really see the depths of what codependency is on the other side, and then you add addiction and alcoholism into that, whoo! Boundaries was a huge word for me that before this book and before a wonderful group that I found, I didn't even know what those were.
And speaking of boundaries specifically, and this is what clicked for me in this past year, I managed to learn about boundaries, assert myself with those who I found I needed boundaries with, but it didn't really I didn't get anywhere with it because I was trying to set boundaries for them to follow. What I needed to do, again, you focus on yourself. You set the boundary, and you know, if you need to cut ties with somebody, you don't ask them to back off. You just stop. You stop. You yourself take on the boundary and you follow through. And the second you break that for any reason, it no longer is a boundary.
Well, and that's one of the big things. So my sponsor, Marcy, made me go, not made, but she really encouraged me to go to this other group, which, I've always been on the other side of that group. I'm like, Marcy, I don't want to go to Al-Anon like that. I'm the villain in that room. Like, I'm not going in there. But she's like, Bridge, your relationship, you need to go. So I went, and it took me definitely a few, but that thing called boundaries, that's where I first learned about it. And I got all excited about it, and because I really wanted this relationship to work. I was really doing so much to do everything that I could to support, to be understanding. Here I am with this person in recovery, and I'm like, I'm gonna be what I wanted, what I seeked for all those years. I want someone who would just be there for me through the shitstorm, right? Unfortunately, though, that didn't work out because when I'm not trying to go too much into it, but like how I recognized was I needed to figure out that line between enabling and supporting. I did not even realize I became more of the enabler because I was the only person this person needed support from. And it took these meetings to get that bigger picture, in behind closed doors and in our little weird world, I wasn't seeing reality. And I remember the first time someone said boundaries, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go home. And he was, he would always want to fix things. So that's why I just kept trying to fix things. We tried to do it together because I really thought he was on board. And we made a list, and these were the things he was going to do or I was going to do. And lo and behold, it didn't work out. So I went back in there just a sobbing mess. And I'm like, you guys set boundaries, and we set boundaries, and it didn't work. And they're like, Bridge, the boundaries are for you. You set boundaries for yourself. You can't control anyone but yourself. And that was mind-blowing. And I had them explain that more to me because I had no knowledge of this. And so when that sunk in, and it took a while to really sink in and to set these boundaries for myself. So if this person says these things, I walk away. If this person does these things, then this is what I do. I do it. I cannot control this person. All I can control is what I do. And so when I had these boundaries set for myself, it worked in the beginning, but then again, for whatever reasons, we won't go into that, he would cross those boundaries. It was like a test. And so when it got to the point where there was no sticking to my fucking boundaries, I'm like, it's not going to work. And so I had to accept that, and acceptance is another piece.
Part of it also, yeah.
So I'm sorry, Sarah. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. And that's part of it too. If there's a point, that's where you kind of need to learn for the acceptance piece is this person in this situation is exactly how it's going to be, and you got to remember you cannot change anything. You can only control yourself, your actions, your beliefs, what you want out of a situation, and how you react to a situation. And if any person, place, thing, whatever that's in your life that's causing you something that's making you uncomfortable or angry or frustrated, you need to either A, accept it, B, remember you cannot change it. So either if you can't accept it, figure out how to work with it in a manner that's not going to cause you harm or anybody else.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and okay, I'm sorry. We got some comments here. Oh my gosh. Okay. And yeah, we're already at 8:45. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're going to try to keep it to an hour, but honestly, if we go over, it's fine. Like at 9:00, people can shut off, click the button off. But I don't want to miss the hot seat, which will be coming up. Are you nervous for that?
I'm a little nervous.
It'll be good. I promise. I told you to listen to the show from last week. It's okay. You're busy. I get it. Busy doing very
Because I'm not
supportive,
you.
awesome things. And we got to talk about some of the things that you do, Sarah, because you are very much in service and giving back. And
Yes.
you are, yeah, I can't wait to talk about, you got to throw out some resources for real. Because like, yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know how anyone could do what you do, but I'm in awe of you every day. So I'm so glad you made it here.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate being here.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, so I just want to let anyone that's commented, if you did not like click, there's a thing that you have to click to reveal, so you can keep yourself anonymous. So I won't be able to acknowledge you, but that's okay if that's not what you're looking for. So let's see. So I'm just going to read this. It says from a Facebook user, I cannot see who they are. You're making me want to dig out my DVT info. I only did a mini introduction type of program in IOP, but I could use the tools right now to respond rather than react. Oh, I love that she said that.
Yeah.
As you just said, Bridge. Yes, I think definitely the key is I don't react anymore. Like I respond.
Well, and you taught me what I love, to pause.
Pause. Do you remember the acronym for pause?
I do. Practice awareness until spirituality emerges. At first, to be honest, it took me, a little back because I'm not religious. I'm like, fuck that.
Well, spirituality, yeah, might come off as religious, but it's
that's that was
spiritual.
That's where
your head went.
My recovery at the time. But I still like the fact that you put an acronym to it, and the idea was just to take a step back.
Yes.
Go rethink about whatever the situation is or what's going on. Just take that extra couple of seconds, even maybe a minute before you respond. Don't react. Yes,
I love that you brought that up, because literally still to this day, it takes me a minute to remember what the acronym is. I think I was half quizzing you there, because I have to pause to think about what pause stands for. And then, it helps my brain to calm down and then focus. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Melanie's got a comment. It says, love this. You two are incredible.
Oh, love you, Melanie.
She said, saying no definitely takes practice and time. It's super uncomfortable at first, but it eventually shifts to feel really empowering. Yes, I actually got a t-shirt not too long ago that says, no is a complete sentence.
And I
Thank you.
That.
Yeah.
Seriously, and I never even heard that until this year.
Hells yeah.
It was, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. No. Okay. It was literally mind-blowing for me to realize that is a complete sentence.
Yes. I remember interacting with someone, I won't say who, but there would just be, through help with my therapist, just support of my friends and my sisters in recovery, the conversations, I eventually would get to the point where I said no. That's it. There's nothing else to be said. It's a complete sentence. Walk away. Read my shirt. I'm getting out of here. Okay. Let's see. Mark's got a comment. Okay. It says, my expectations of others that played a big role in my addiction had a lot to do with my codependency. My I'm my own man attitude was all BS. Once I found recovery, understanding my codependency and working on it was key to my growth in sobriety. Ooh, I love that.
What was the first part that he said about it?
Hold on, let me just finish reading it now, and then you tell me what part. The steps helped with this, but only as much as I identify the characteristics and be willing to let them go. Ooh, Mark's wise. I love that, Mark. Okay, so just you stop me when the part that you want me to point out. But he said, my expectations of others. That's it. My expectation of others that played a big role in my addiction had a lot to do with my codependency. Do you feel comfortable talking about your experience with codependency, if any?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. One, I would like to say that in any relationship, at any point in your life, if you have a expectation of something or someone, check yourself, because that is setting yourself
Check
up
yourself.
for failure. Because seriously,
Yes.
you're going to play over in your head how something's going to, you're thinking, okay, if I say or do this, this is how it's going to work. Because you're expecting something, a different reaction.
Mhm.
And that might not be the case. You need, and that, again, that's a boundary you need to set for yourself and know, okay, this is how I'm going to approach a situation, but it could really go any way. And you got to learn to accept however it goes.
Yes. The number one offender, resentments. When I did research into it, resentments are premeditated expectations.
Yes.
Boom, mic drop. Like that was huge for me.
Yeah.
And even just in sponsoring, when I heard that in a room, someone else very smart said that resentments are premeditated expectations. So even in sponsoring, I was super excited in the beginning, and I would go meet a newcomer anywhere, at a coffee shop or wherever, and because we're supposed to meet one-on-one, but they wouldn't show up. Okay, so I had these premeditated expectations. They were just as excited. Hello, Bridge. Like, did you forget what it's like to be a newcomer? I kind of did, and I'm going to these coffee shops and ordering like $6 expensive coffee, sitting there by myself. I was mad, So when I heard this, I was like, that's beautiful, because why should I ever expect a newcomer, to be at the capacity that I'm at? That's silly. And I felt embarrassed once I thought about it. And then B, like, I need to be smart about it. So now, I say, hey, cool, I would love to meet with you. And how about, here's where I'm going to be on these days at this times. We can meet before, or we can meet after. But what's wonderful about it is I never expect them to show up. So it's great when they show up. And honestly, I worked it out to, I already have this planned thing, so whether they come before or after, if they don't show up, boom, more me time. Ooh, I actually get some quiet time to like read to myself, or think around on my phone, or message people back, or just write. Like, it's nice now. So none of that silliness of these expectations. Like, expectations is like, you're bringing that shit on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And you asked me about codependency in my life.
Yes.
I will have to say that my current relationship that I'm in, I feel very lucky to have found, because I cannot imagine anybody going through the year that I have gone through without the full support, the open, honest communication that we have, as well as the, I'm sure there are nights or days where I don't get to see him, and it's probably hard. I know he misses me. He'll send me a message and say it, which is great, because again, you don't know, like, you can assume that the person knows, they know I miss them.
Well, and I've met him. Do you want to give him a shout out?
Yes.
Dan.
Yes, I love Dan.
Dan is awesome. I've met him. He's actually hung out with us a couple of times. He's so great and so supportive. And like, I've watched you two, like, you just glow when you're around him, and you just guys connect. And it's like, that is awesome. Like, that's something for anyone to attain to. But I like that you pointed out, you guys have this understanding, and support, and that willingness to work together.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we have this open communication line where if at any point one of us is not feeling it, or there's something that one of us feels like maybe the other's not feeling great. Like, I had a really shitty couple weeks, and when I seen him, he just came out and said, hey, I noticed there's something off. I'm not accusing you of being angry or upset, even though I was
clearly angry and upset.
And he's like, just what's going on? And that opened the door for me to say, I'm feeling hurt and I'm scared, and these are the things that are going on. And we were able to open up. And that's just those little things like that make me feel so good.
Look at the time, Sarah. Here's another freaking alarm.
But he also, I want to point out the fact that I love the fact that we have distance. I live down in St. Paul, and he lives up on the north side of the cities.
Yeah.
And I get to go have overnights with him, once a week or whatever it is. Or we might go up, north we just took a vacation up to Duluth, and we got to bring one of my girls from my sober house. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But he's so supportive of this new world that I'm going in. And he is okay with, like, the fact that we
respects.
live separate.
you need space. Like
Yes.
he respects that anyone I think needs space for themselves.
Yes.
And that I think he respects, that you're working on yourself, you're healing yourself. He's not like, I need you by me all the time. We have to live together. Like, I love that you guys, I feel like, have this really solid, strong relationship, but you don't have to live together. You don't have to need each other, and you don't have to like depend on each other.
And I can't imagine any person going through recovery and living in a sober house that's in a relationship where it's resulting in shame or guilt for not being with their partner during that time, which should not, I'm throwing that out there right now. That is not okay. If you're feeling those feelings, that is not okay, because you shouldn't be. And nobody should ever make you feel that way.
Right. Oh my gosh, we could stem off of this. We could go on for a long time. Okay, Melanie has another comment. Let's see what she said. Okay, love this conversation on expectations. I have a blog post on the exact idea that our expectations create our disappointment. Oh, and she posted the link. Yes. Oh, let's talk about Melanie. Okay, so I'm super excited about this. Don't let me flub up my words. So she is actually coming tomorrow to Bad Moms Club. So there's a meeting that goes on at Blaine. It's the Blaine Alano. It's actually Ham Lake technically, but if you, it's at 13536 Highway 65. So 7:00, Melanie is coming to our meeting.
Yeah, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Yeah, p.m. Let me clarify that. My ass ain't gonna be there at a.m. But what's wonderful is, so our group, yes, we read out of the big book and the 12x12, like we switch it off, but we also like to dive into other books for recovery. And when I found Melanie's book, she actually met with us.
Yes, we got to have lunch with her. Absolutely amazing.
I got to meet her. She's so down to earth and cool. Like, I'm a little bit of a fan, I'm not gonna lie. So I was so nervous to meet her. I just thought that she'd be this, like, I don't know what I was picturing, it was weird expectation. I don't know. But she turned out to just, like, I immediately felt like connected. Like,
yes,
like she could be my best friend forever.
Oh my gosh. And it's kind of,
I want to have coffee with her every day.
It's one of those moments where you go into it, it's like, oh my God, I'm meeting a celebrity. Like,
yes, my heart was like, boo, don't say anything stupid. Let her talk.
Completely starstruck. But you know what? After having that lunch with her, I felt actually kind of, you kind of have that, like, I'm at home feeling. I was so comfortable around her.
Like, we've known her forever.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just, she has so much wisdom that she puts in this book, and her attitude, I literally admire her so much.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I am looking forward to, I think it was November she mentioned. So I mentioned earlier in this podcast how, a lot of these things that I'm learning now should be taught in school, especially, DBT skills, mental health, anything in that regard should be taught in school. And I had brought this up to Melanie to find out. She has been an advocate and goes out and does this at schools all over Minnesota. And my heart, I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this. I think it is such a big deal.
Oh my goodness, so much. So the meeting tomorrow is hybrid. So it is women only. Sorry, fellas. And maybe she's probably very busy, but down the line we can have something else where it is open for all. But it is women only, but it will be Zoom. So if you find Bad Moms Club, we'll post the link on Facebook. Yes. You will get the ID and the password, and if you can't make it into the club, you can at least join us virtually. And
any women that are part of,
she'll have her book there.
Yes.
I'm sure she'll autograph them. I got mine autographed.
And anybody that's part of Summit Hill Sober Living, on their Facebook page as well, that this has already been posted, and I'll be posting another one on there too. So
yes. And so after this, I'm sorry, you guys, this is like a one-woman show. I mean, two women today show. So like, if I had, I'll throw that out there. If anybody, has any willingness and is able to help, I would love to have like a mod. Actually, my teenager's like, it's a mod, Mom. I'm like, a moderator? He's like, no, it's a mod. Okay, it's a mod. That's a cool word. To sit in and to these podcasts just to kind of keep me focused on the time. Watch the comments because there's beautiful comments like today. But any help would be appreciated because, like I said, last week I said I would manage the time better, and it's so hard when I'm wrapped in this like conversation.
It is.
You know, I am a person that does try to be mindful and be in the moment, and I'm so wrapped in this moment that I'm like, people are like, I only have an hour. Wrap it up.
So many things that I want to go into like farther into depth, and I realize I'm like, okay.
We'll wait till tomorrow when Melanie's talking herself about her book and whatever else she wants to talk about. So okay, let's jump into the hot seat, Sarah, because we are already at 9:00. Okay, so I encourage you to answer them. I will not kick you off the show if you don't answer them. But they are meant to be just thoughtful questions that someone out there, you know, might be able to resonate or connect with. So I write them down because I get in these moments and I have no idea what happened 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago. Okay, so, but I sat home last night in my bed and wrote these. Okay, you ready? Okay, first question, Sarah. You're in the hot seat. Okay. Oh, this is kind of a funny one. Not really. Okay, if you could clone yourself, which of your characteristics wouldn't you want to clone?
Wouldn't.
Yeah, a little twist in there.
I like this. Okay. Characteristics.
It doesn't have to be characteristics. So let's say there's a machine right now and we could clone you and you had to pick one thing about this clone that you would leave out for whatever reason. So it's kind of a hard question.
Addictive side, my addiction to
your addiction brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I don't know though, Sarah. I love you and I have only met you because of your addiction brain, and our brains are kind of similar. So what's that supposed to mean?
You know, it's either that or that's a really hard freaking question.
How about think on it?
Yes.
And I'll throw another question at you. I know the way your mind works too.
Yeah.
Because things will come back to you and hit you in the moment. You just interrupt anytime. Okay? Okay. Second question is, what is one thing that you've had to unlearn?
I'm in the process of this actually. I have not been successful. Apparently, when I say, "Oh, I've seen that," that is not proper English. I guess it's a grammatical error. It's supposed to be I saw that, not.
Oh, you can't say that. I seen that. Yeah, oh, is that like slang?
Like, I have seen, or and I cannot. I say it all the time. I'm constantly like, "Oh yeah, I just seen that the other day." And I have people like,
"Oh, in my Sarah, I say that all the time too. I didn't know that. Now I'm gonna think about it every time I say it."
Yeah, I've tried like reprogramming my brain to say saw it. I cannot. It just doesn't happen.
No. You know what though? I kind of like that. What's that saying? Like, you could take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl. Yes. You know, so I don't live in St. Paul. I grew up in St. Paul, 17 years of my life. That's my home. St. Peasy, shout out. But I've been in Blaine for a while, and just moving to Blaine, like, I realized I need to talk differently. This is my own thing, right? But it's funny now because I work in St. Paul for MRC, and I love it because it's like going home for a little bit. But I don't have to sleep there. But no shitting you, like my old, just how I spoke. Look at me, I'm trying to be more correct when I speak. But like the city girl from St. Peter can be coming out, and I kind of like that because I don't really honestly hang out with a lot of my friends from St. Paul anymore, which is unfortunate. It's for all kinds of different reasons. But like immediately, just being in St. Paul again brings out my hood side. Like it does just come out, especially when I'm like enthusiastic about something, or cuss words can be what did I say? They're like accentuating words or something. Or there's a funny term somebody was like, they're called something words, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm accentuating the word, or there's some, I don't know, there's some funny term. Anyway, okay, I'm rambling again. Okay, let's see. Last question, and like I said, we can go back to that.
Can I answer
the first one?
Unclone? I don't know if it's possible, but
yes.
I would like to not be tone deaf.
Tone deaf. Explain that.
So I want to be able to carry a tune and sing and project my voice in a very beautiful manner, other than what I can only do now.
Singing in the shower or something. I've never heard you sing.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I'm glad we didn't know each other back in the day. I used to do karaoke. Not pretty. Not pretty.
Car.
Me too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't never want to be recorded singing.
Nope.
Okay, last question. What is the lie you tell yourself most often?
This is something I'm working on. Again, with the mental health, I never realized that this was a lie that I tell myself, but the fact that I feel like I have no worth and that I cannot successfully live the supposed life that we have in a manner that provides any use to anybody ever. And that is the biggest lie I probably tell myself.
That is definitely a lie. That breaks my heart, Sarah. Don't say that. But that's your truth, you know.
And that's what I've been learning, that you know, the way that I talk to myself is like I sit and lie to myself.
Yes.
And that's what I have to learn to
work on and
that
heal.
I'm recovering from that, because I'm learning how to see my worth, find out how things around me are affected by what I do or say. And so yeah, that's my biggest
lie. And you know, it's just it's mind-blowing that you say that, because I sit over here, right, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, how could you say that about yourself? But I'm the same way, because I heard someone say it's like your inner mean girl, right? And I clicked with that, because I always say, well, I'm my own worst enemy. And what I mean by that is, yes, like you're talking about, like I am my own worst enemy. I will talk myself out of something so quickly. I literally hate pictures of myself.
Yes.
It's crazy. I hate selfies. A, it takes me forever to get like one that I like. And B, pictures of myself that people post. Like now I'm just like, yeah, post them all. I don't care. And it's weird, because like I literally have to reflect, because immediately when I first see them, I don't even, other people are like, you look great. What are you talking about? I hate them. And it is a mental, like something I need to work on. It's that inner mean girl, like, you are, ugly. And like, I will have to like make myself go back and look at pictures from 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago. Well, we won't go into years, okay? Because that's a different subject. But like 2 months ago, and I look and I'm like, yeah, why did I look fine. Like, what's wrong with me? But it's my own inner mean girl.
Yes, and you know that's so interesting, because, like I said, I've been very distant with anything that I have associated religious. Just instant wall.
Oh yeah.
And
shut that shit down.
Finding spirituality and my own path through life and my own higher power, there are still terms that I use, such as sin. And I learned from somebody wonderful.
Somebody really smart.
Yes.
What does sin mean, Sarah?
Sin is to go against yourself.
Yeah, to go against oneself.
And I think a lot of people can understand that in the concept that, you know, if you're going against you hold your own morals, your own values, and you believe that, you know, certain things are right and certain things are wrong, and when you go against them, that is sinning. But what more, to me, I feel like the greatest sin of all is when your inner self starts shitting on yourself, telling you these lies that you're a worthless piece of shit, or you're not good enough, you don't got this, like nobody gives a shit. Those are all things that you are literally saying to yourself that are negative and not effective. And that is the biggest sin of all, is to sit there and do that to yourself. And so for me, I like to be mindful of where I'm at in my headspace, what I'm telling myself. What would I say to my daughter? Yeah,
because you got to catch yourself.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So I got to bring this up. So how I changed that. And here's how I changed it. Through action. But it wasn't like, oh, I'll just start doing action. Like my brain has been wired to talk myself out of shit. Okay, so God, I wish I knew her name. I want to say her name is like Mel or something. I'll post a link. So I like to do a lot of like self-reflection. Okay. And I like TED Talks. I like listening to podcasts. I like just hearing other people share their wisdom. And especially when I hear something that clicks with me, I'm like, ooh, wow. Okay, so she talked about this 5-second rule, and takes 5 seconds for your brain to talk you out of something. Now, don't be mad at your brain. Your brain's just trying to protect you, okay? So if you feel stressed out or you get some anxiety, say, someone asks you to commit to something, immediately you feel stress or anxiety, your brain feels that. And your brain is like, okay, I need to protect you. So your brain will start talking you out of it based on fear or what, or, okay, yes. And all she said, it was like a short clip of, because I ended up trying it. So your brain just wants to protect you. So your brain is going to talk you out of whatever your body's is triggering your brain to try to protect you and keep you safe. And so she said it's a 5-second rule. And whenever you start to feel icky, I like to say it's just icky, like fear or anxious about something, count to 5 and then do it. Okay, so how I do it now, I used to, if anyone was like, yeah, do you think you could take over for a meeting? No. For sure. I was immediately like, there's no way I can do that. And I remember the first time I used a trick. I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. You know what? I'm just going to start saying yes. Because the fact of the matter is, anything that gives me fear, now I go out of my way to say yes. Because no matter what, I can say no later. I can say, look at my schedule and be like, oh, this ain't going to work or whatever. But if I don't have like a reasonable reason to say no, and I know I can help out or do this thing, and I know it's going to test my anxiety, I go for it. And that is how I really overcame a lot of my own anxiety, because they were all fear-based on my own inner mean girl. Because I'm like, you can't do this. What do people think of you? You're not good enough to do that or speak on that. You're not smart enough. And the 5-second rule, literally, and that's why I think like lazy people suffer from it, because it's not their fault. Their brain will talk you out of it and you just go along with it. But if you don't want to say no, count to 5 and say yes. Just start practicing that. Like, even getting out of bed. So her little clip was on getting out of bed because she was so far gone in depression that she couldn't even get out of bed. Yeah. So she said, like an astronaut, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She got her ass out of bed. And just practicing that constantly, well, it worked for me. And I have so many people, like, now I share my experience, strength, and hope story. I never thought I'd be doing that 2 years ago. No way. My story, like, it freaks some people out, some of the stuff. And, I don't always share my whole story because it is a lot. And it scares some people. But I never thought, you were there. I shared a story in a freaking, well, it's not a church anymore, but it still looks like a damn church. And it's still like, the whatever set up pews, and a large group of they called themselves old school old timers. So I walked in that room and I'm like, yikes. But at the end of the day, I luckily I had you to stare at. I had another friend there, Jennifer and Holly. So even when my mind was like this and my heart was like this, at the end of the day after I did it, I'm like, again, I built that empowerment, like Melanie was just saying. It empowered me. It helps me build my courage, and it gets me over these silly fears that I've had from when I was a kid, that just is in my own brain. And that whole thing that you were just talking about, sin, I read that out of the 4 Agreements, one of my favorite books. And the first agreement is to be impeccable with your words, because words are so powerful and they can also be very toxic. But impeccable, if you break that down, means to without sin. Okay, so to be impeccable with your words is, I love it, and that's the first and most important agreement. So think about your words. Make sure they're not, sinful. I hate that word sin anyway, but to go against yourself, and when I really get into the depths of it, to go against not just morals, my soul. Yeah. I can feel it in my soul.
Yeah, you mentioned the word icky earlier.
If it's icky. Yes, I just like the icky word. That just sounds so much nicer. But like, I can feel it instantly. And the other day we were just and I won't keep rambling on, but we were talking about red flags and how we throw those up everywhere. But I loved how you said, well, no, there's just a flag up with that person. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Well, there's no color yet. but there's still a
You can't see
flag.
what the color is on the flag, but there's a flag up.
I love that, because like for me, like as soon as I feel icky, that's okay. That's a flag. And that's for me knowing I'm aware to watch for this. Don't know if it's red yet, or maybe it'll be green later. But in the moment, for whatever reason in my brain, there's a flag up. So I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so being mindful of time, I have this fun little segment where I flash Facebook memes. And like Facebook, you you thumbs up if you want to,
Okay.
and or comment.
Okay.
And or some are meant to be funny. Some were like, I was like, ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
But yeah, that's mostly the just. I didn't even know what
I'm
to think.
excited.
I just randomly picked someone. So here we go.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you just read them. Okay, so this one I loved.
Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually you've been planted. Ooh, I do like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that specifically is a very good reminder for when you are in the dark place,
Mhm.
because you can't see shit. You don't know what's going on. You feel like you're buried,
But you're not alone.
and you have to hold on to that one little glimmer of hope that you might be somebody, if they posted this and if I was in that hole and I read this, that would be my one little light to keep me going. So this is great.
Okay. So thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay. This one might rub people the wrong way, but I thought it was hilarious. Describe the picture.
Okay, so we got Jesus sitting on a rock with a bunch of
listeners.
Yes. And he is saying, love everyone, no matter what. And they are saying...
And one of the listener or disciples or whoever's down there is like, ask a question.
Yes. He says, what if they are gay? And he replies, yes, even if they ask stupid questions. This is one of those crying, laughing emoji responses to this one. Okay. That's perfect.
Yeah. Even if they ask stupid questions.
If you erase all the mistakes of your past, you would erase all of the wisdom of your present. Remember the lesson, not the disappointment. I'm going to say like to this one because we've had this conversation before. I do not believe in regrets. I believe that everything that has happened in my life, no matter the outcome of them, how shitty of the stuff that I've experienced.
And are still going through.
Correct. They're still all learning lessons that give me wisdom and teach me how to handle different situations in the future or something that might reoccur. Who knows what it is? But either way, I wouldn't be the person I am today without what I've gone through.
Right.
So, no regrets.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, this one's, I think, hilarious because who doesn't love tacos?
I love tacos. Okay.
Read the title.
Why tacos are better than people. Tacos aren't overly sensitive. Must be that tough outer shell. Touché. I've never heard a taco lie. They're hot. They are filled with deliciousness, whereas people are full of crap. Tacos don't judge. Not even when you add sour cream and double cheese.
Yeah.
They're always there for you, even at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. I love freaking tacos.
You don't have to just have them on Tuesday. You can have them every day.
So, I live at Summit Hill, one of their silver houses, and my house, the group of gals that are there right now, they're so amazing and awesome. We literally host freaking taco parties weekly.
Oh, yes. I love it. Oh my gosh, you gotta post that or send me a text because I will come over for some taco.
Yes,
hard shells, the bowls, whatever you want to do. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious.
When people bring up your past, tell them Jesus dropped the charges.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if anybody comes up in my past, I'm like, why are you talking about my past? That was way back there. I'm not even there no more.
I think this is a good meme just because that is so true. And again, with me finding my higher power, though it's not per se a name such as Jesus or
Mhm.
God.
Mhm.
I do believe the fact that I think they're just getting at the fact that, the way you were then is not
Yeah.
who the hell you are now.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. So
Yes. Okay, this one's good. And I think you've actually told me that one before.
If you avoid the conflict to keep the peace, you start a war inside yourself. And yes, I did share this with you before.
Yes, you did. I heart that one. I love that one.
And, that is such a huge thing. Part of my addiction and my life growing up, I didn't realize that I was a person who was I was on the opposite side of the codependent person. I was the person that the other person clung to and needed, and I enabled. And
can you disclose, no names, but just disclose that role that person was in your life?
Yeah, so it's actually my mother. She has her own addiction, which again, we can't change other people. So when I took on recovery and no longer drank with her and started changing my life, I started changing my attitude. I started using boundaries, and I think I upset the balance between us. But little did I know, being the other person on the codependency, there was no scale, there was no balance. I allowed her to mistreat me because I never said no. I allowed her to say cruel things, and just I put up with everything to keep the peace. And internally, it wound up causing me to seek other means to make myself feel better, because instead of, checking that relationship and in stopping the things that were going on, I allowed that to happen to keep the peace and continue this war inside myself that I numbed with alcohol. I felt like shit, and I didn't know why. And I just wanted to.
And you just want to blame yourself. Like, it's so easy for me to blame myself for everything. That is my go-to, and I hate that about myself.
Yeah.
And even when we had a really great hangout last night, just drinking some apple cider on your porch with the blanket. But we had like some in-depth conversations, and one of the things that like really stood out to me, because I was talking about the situation with a friend of mine, and I hadn't talked, she just kind of shut me out. And I gave, like, hello, Sarah. She just let me vent on forever. But I vented on about these things that I know are not facts. Okay, so here's the DBT thing again. I want to premeditate all these things. I want to predict these things. But that's that inner mean girl. I think you heard, like, in our conversation, like, I want to blame myself. Like, I probably said this. I probably did that. Ooh, I was probably too much there. And at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. And I told you, like, I think the part that, I've had to let go of was the truth will come out if it needs to, whenever it happens. Like, I'm not going to, like, go seek it anymore. Like, I'm not going to push myself, past my own boundaries. I'm going to just wait for if we can become, we don't even have to be as close. I just miss her in my life. And so I was hurt that she felt she couldn't communicate to me about that for whatever reason. But I just want to get to the truth. And it won't. Let me just finish this thought, or I might not remember it later. I'm so sorry. I just remembered that I had to accept that it's going to be what it is. And if it comes to light, the truth will reveal itself. And I know no matter what the reason is, I mostly just want to know, so that if it is me, because I blame myself, I can make sure that I work on that, or I don't do that again, or that it's something
A lesson to
I
learn.
just want to know. Otherwise, I've just continually blamed myself. And that's when I did have to do a step. I continually do step work when I can't get rid of that shit myself. And that's where I finally was able to work on that, inventory it up, look at my liabilities, my assets, my own stuff, and let it go.
And, I just wanted to add to this, that as you're talking about this, the fact that these expectations and these self-premeditated notions of what might be going on, mind you, I said might.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You pointed out, you're like, Bridge, she's probably not even thought about it, like, at all.
Like, you were, but it's because, yeah.
She's probably busy. Like, she got a family, too. She got shit going on. You're not that important.
But it's
I mean,
so,
you didn't say that, but you were very nice, and I made me come to light how I was looking at it.
You panic and you worry, because I know I do it. I'm like, oh my God, I effed up here, here, and here, and now they're mad at me because X, Y, and Z. No, in reality, I think that's happened maybe 2% of the time, and really, it has nothing to do with me at all. But I get where you're coming from. Your anxiety is kicked up because you're afraid that you did do something wrong, and you don't know, because you haven't been able to have that open, honest communication to find out, or even ask that question, like, hey, did I screw up here? Like, what's going on? I think when you and I first started, after we had shortly met and you became my sponsor, I think at one point in time, I was being critical and overanalyzing, and I'm like, are you mad at me at all for I don't know what it would be, but just I'm wondering.
Well, it's so funny, because at one point we were like, let's both promise each other, no matter what, we will never do that. Like, if there's anything I do or anything you do, if there's any kind of miscommunication, because I too, I value our friendship so much now at this point that I don't want to risk you being upset about whatever, but not talking to me about it, for whatever you're gonna hurt my feelings. I'm like, hurt my feelings. I don't care if you think it's gonna hurt my feelings more if you don't talk to me about it, because I care about you, because I want to have that relationship with you.
Yes.
I mean, that just brings to mind a quick little recent relationship I had. It wasn't like that. I openly said in the beginning, I want to have open communication. I'm in this place now where A, I love myself. So B, I'm going to talk, I'm kind of that blunt person right now. If something feels icky, I told him right in the beginning, I'm going to talk about it, just so we can communicate about it, because I don't let shit, like this card says, sit inside me. The only way to get rid of darkness is to bring it to light, And so I remember at the end of it, when he was done, there was no communication, and he didn't even want, it was through text, we're done. I'm like, you don't even want to talk about this? I thought that we had this understanding. I was like, and I'm reflecting on it, because I was fine with it. I'm like, you know what? If you don't even want to have a conversation about it, you've been done with it before. It must have been before this moment.
And there's
things I didn't even know about, but it shows that
there's no value.
I didn't care.
Somebody, you give them.
Yeah, I felt like this person doesn't even care enough. I mean, it was only a month of hanging out, really, but didn't care enough to really even get to know me to the extent that they wanted to even talk about it. I'm glad we didn't go too far into it, more than just hanging out and stuff. But that's where, on the other side of it, I can look at this really close sister that I've had, which I understand. I mean, I understand. I don't have 19 years of experience in recovery, because I was this open, understanding person. Okay. I was the first person to shut you out of my life. You give me one reason, I will never talk to you again. I don't want to be like that anymore. That's just something that's in my, it's just a part of me. And so part of my healing process is not shutting people out and talking about it. I think communication is so important. I can see you want to say something. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, that is literally the key to recovery.
Yeah.
That piece right there.
Mm-hmm.
To open up. Find the people that you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that aren't going to hurt you. The ones that do want to genuinely support you.
Mm-hmm.
That is freaking recovery.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it's all about.
Yes.
And I never even knew what I was missing
until
I found this.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh my God, I'm living this life of recovery. I'm doing all these things with all these amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I can openly talk about who I am, what I'm experiencing, what's going on. I'm not hiding behind a fucking bottle. I'm not locking myself up in my room and not talking to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's the smallest day ever. I will walk past a roommate and be like, and it'll be the most stupid thing. I've walked up and down the steps 6 times today, and I keep forgetting to grab the paper towel. But really, if I were to have sat with that, it would have, by the end of the night, I would have been all alone, and I would have been like, this is why you're stupid.
Oh.
This is why, and then it would have turned into a self nitpicky, whatever, instead of, you know what, by just saying that 2 seconds it took me to tell somebody this, it opened up a conversation between me and another person. It opened up a thing for some laughter because really 6 times. But that's what it is.
Yes.
It's opening up. It's just opening up.
Yes. And being your authentic self.
Yes.
You know, and I still love finding more out about me, you know, growing and watching other people in my life grow. And like, it's so wonderful because like that first card said, you know, you might be sitting in that darkness, but you might be planted for a reason. So look at this as an opportunity to figure out what you're going to grow into and bloom into. And Sarah, you've bloomed. I mean, you always were beautiful. Like when I first met you, Inner Mean Girl's like, ooh, she's really pretty. You better not be her friend. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, be her best friend now. But no, like, you know, it's just great to see, you know, especially when we start, you know, I mean, for myself, when I started, like I said, most people don't recognize me. And that it's like, there's not this big morph of what I look like on the outside. It's a morph of who I was. And I felt like a nobody. And I didn't talk and I didn't share anything. And I came to a meeting, I left. Like, I didn't open up to anyone. And then I wondered why nobody knows me. So yeah, but before we end the show, I just wanted to point out, like, you can't trust everybody in recovery. Okay, so like, use those flags, whatever colors they are. If you get an icky feeling about someone, like, talk about it with that person, or talk about it with someone that you like. Go with that. Don't just trust everyone because, you know, I mean, I think most of us mean well or whatever. We're still humans, and we still, you know, those judgments don't go away. But watch yourself, you know, like
100%. I just want to throw in here real quick.
Yeah.
You said find that person that you can trust. I want to just mention, you know, this is why sponsorship is such a big key to recovery.
Yes.
You find that person, you find that one person that you can open up to. And also, like the therapist thing, if it doesn't work with somebody, it's okay to walk away and find somebody that you match up with, that you are comfortable with, because you want to be able to, again, open up.
Absolutely.
And that is a person that, mind you, sponsorship, if you have that conversation with your sponsor and you ask them, like, can we keep this confidential? They're going to do that. They're going to respect you. They're going to want to get you to be a better
anonymity person.
Yes. So that's just a little thing I just want to drop in there.
Well, yeah. And that's the other thing that I want to tie in. And this is the last thing, just with the pathway of mental health and the therapist. So like, I don't want to always talk about this, but like, one of the steps is to talk about those things, right? So step 5, well, I did not do my step 5 with just one person. You know, you can give it whatever label: sponsor, sharing partner, accountability partner, just someone you trust in the rooms. But I also accidentally did my step 5 with my therapist, because I felt safe, because I felt I could trust her, and because I knew she knew or did most of the shit anyway. Like, it felt good, with my, you know, I had 2, I said, with my step 5, to reveal these awful skeletons that I had been hiding in this closet, to reveal the darkest things that I thought about myself and had been punishing myself over. And I almost died a couple times over this guilt and shame. And thanks to those 2 beautiful women, just for them to sit and listen. And I remember finally being able to look in their eyes, and there was no judgment. Like, I was baffled to see their faces, and they still accepted me, and I felt like they still loved me, and they didn't judge me. And I hear these things that I thought were so awful, and they are. I mean, I think any normie wouldn't be able to, I don't know if they would be able to be my friend after that. But for them to just accept me, and I'm not this horrible, awful person, was such a weight lifted that I had been carrying around for so long, that was the stepping stone to me really finding who I am. So, okay, well, we gotta wrap it up. Oh my God, do you see the time? It's 9:35, Sarah. Okay, I know. I encourage anyone, if it's past the time, it's okay. You can walk away. But you had something that you wanted to share, and
did
I do
kinda
have
wanna
an
make
end
just a
quote.
really quick
Please do, and
reference.
state.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I'm taking a little passage out of Melanie Moberg's Warriors in Recovery book, out of the codependency section.
Yeah.
Actually, little did you know you're going to tie this in. But she wrote in here, "Are you helping or are you judging?" And she goes on to state that I spent years judging the people I loved. I thought I could do better. If you were to ask me back then, I would have told you I knew I could do better. How freaking arrogant is that? Quite a bit. It's taken me a long time to forgive myself for thinking I knew better, but how could I possibly know what was right for someone else? Don't let anybody tell you what's right for yourself. And if you find yourself trying to control another person, just take a step back and be like, hey, wait, where's my role here? Where am I at? And I think that's just a really nice way to wrap up.
Oh my gosh, that was perfect. Okay, so final quote, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I'm hoping this plants a little seed maybe down the line when your life isn't so crazy. You could make this a regular thing. But thank you to the listeners. I'm so glad that you joined us. I can't believe Mark and Melanie. And it's unfortunate because like if they don't click the yes, it's okay. I would give shout outs, but shout outs to all the listeners and comments and participating. So next week is going to be another pathway. It's more general, but it's on specifically, I call it self-reflection, but some people call it self-help. But really, that is a key thing. Is that pathway into just oneself and learning from oneself. So that will be the pathway next week. And same time, same day, Sundays. And so here's the end quote, and then we will get the fuck off the air, Sarah. I'm sorry. My kids are like, where is mom? She said, where's my snack? Okay. It says, and this totally ties into everything we just talked about. If you're a giver, remember to learn your limits because the takers don't have any. What? Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. Have a good night. On Facebook or YouTube or email, send me your questions, comments, any topics or pathways you want to talk about. Like this is a new thing. Like this is show 2, so show 3. Let's it's yours. The floor is yours. So all right, guys. I hope you have a great week. And let's end this broadcast. End broadcast.